Welcome to Transformative Principle, where I help you stop putting out fires and start leading. I am your host, Jethro Jones. You can follow me on Twitter at Jethro Jones. Welcome to Transformative Principle. I am so excited to share some more exciting news with you today. This has turned into the summer of surprises on the Transformative Principle podcast, and I'm excited about what we have going on. So I am excited today to announce the B Podcast Network. I am expanding what I'm doing here at Transformative Principle to include more podcasts for more educators. It's so exciting. So you can learn more and sign up when it officially launches on August 1st at bpodcast.network. That's bpodcast.network. So go check that out. So get your email in there so that you can get notified when it launches. I've still got a lot to do before it happens, but it's going to be pretty great. We're starting with 7 awesome shows that you are going to love. And today, I'm going to talk about just a few of them. First of all, because this podcast, Transformative Principle, has been so successful, over 1 million downloads, longest running podcast for educational leaders, many people are reaching out to me to interview them, and I just can't possibly put them all on this show. They wouldn't be released for years, is how that ends up. Also, I just love podcasting. It's fun, and I love to get to talk to all kinds of amazing people out there. I'll tell you about the shows on the network in a minute, but I'm putting together an editorial board for the network, and I want to start here. So here's what I'm looking for. I'd like you to self-select if you qualify with 2 of the following here. So number 1, I'm looking for people who love podcasts. Are you waiting in anticipation for your favorite show? Then this is you. Do you have too many podcasts that you could never actually listen to, like me? Then this is also you. The second criteria is people who want education to be better and want to change the status quo. We're going to share stories about these changes on all the shows, so we want people who will want to listen to them on that editorial board as well. And number 3, a list of great guests. Who do you think we should be talking to as we do each of these shows? And again, I'll get into these shows in just a minute, but if you fit 2 of those 3 criteria, then I want you to be part of that editorial board, and I think it's going to be pretty amazing. These shows are not just meeting the status quo. That's not what we're going for. It's going to be called the B Podcast Network for 2 reasons. Number 1, we want our listeners to be the change they want to see in education. We know that educators have great power, but often feel hamstrung by district, state, school, and national policies. The reality is that we can do so much even within those confines. When times are tough and you're struggling yourself, it is helpful to have voices you trust talking through the challenges you're facing. I've been through a lot of tough times, and one thing that has always helped me is listening to inspiring podcasts. I just love it. The second meaning of the name B Podcast Network is beyond education. While our main focus is still going to be educators, we're also going to include things that are adjacent to education. We also want to think of impacting more than just the schools where we work and can be that change. We want to go beyond that. This network is going to be the best network for education-related podcasts out there. And I want to attract the greatest hosts and the most compelling stories and content that we can. And I want your help doing it. That's why I want an editorial board that's going to help us make some good decisions about what we're going to have on there. We are going to have great hosts, great listeners, and I'm excited for this opportunity. And I'm excited for you to be a part of it too, because we want these shows to be engaging and involved with what you are doing. So we want you there, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I keep saying we because I'm partnering with Ross Romano of September Strategy to make this happen. Ross has been a huge supporter of the Transformative Principle podcast for years. He's connected me with many great guests, helped me find awesome people to connect with beyond just the podcast, and even introduced me to the book publisher that finally published my first and second books. Ross is amazing, and he will be a great partner in this work. If you don't know him, you certainly should. Let me just check his Twitter. Ross B. Romano. There we go. Before I get into a highlight of some of the shows, I want to reiterate my call for members of our editorial board. We want to hear from you about what people want to hear on these shows. So if you meet two of the following criteria, remember, reach out to me. People who love podcasts, people who want education to be much better and want to change the status quo, and 3, a list of great guests. If you meet 2 of the 3 of those, reach out, let's chat. I'd love to have you on the editorial board. So let's get into the shows. Of course, this show, Transformative Principal, will be part of the network. My other podcast, Cybertraps, will also be part of the network. The Cybertraps podcast, if you have not heard it yet, is a collaboration with Frederick Lane, who literally wrote the book Cybertraps for Educators, now in its, I think, 3rd edition. That book is all about the use and misuse of technology. And through that, we founded the Center for Cyber Ethics, which is dedicated to promoting the application of ethics in technology-related areas. In fact, Fred is going to Ghana to do more of this work as a Fulbright specialist this September. So that is pretty exciting that he's able to do that. I'm also going to start a couple new shows that I've already done some interviews for. The first is the Authority Podcast. One of the most common pitches that I get on this podcast is for authors, but they don't always fit in with what I'm trying to do here. So this will be a great place to expose educators to great books. In my mastermind, we intentionally don't read any education books together. It is my hope that to help you have a great list of books to read every week, because great educators are readers, and this will appeal to people who are not just educational leaders, but also teachers, paraprofessionals, office staff, custodians. We want to put stuff out there for everybody in whatever field they are in or aspect of education. The second podcast that's new is the Resilient Schools podcast, and this podcast is focused on evolving beyond trauma-informed practices. That trauma-informed stuff has been a big part of what I've done, and I've interviewed a lot of people about that topic on this show, but I have not made it a real focus. And I think that Resilient Schools is the way to go, because we want schools to, sure, be trauma informed and be trauma sensitive, but more importantly, we want them to be resilient. I believe that resilient schools are led by resilient principals who support resilient teachers who teach resilient students. It's a cycle, and everyone needs support. So I'm excited about this podcast as well. I'm hoping to have a special guest who's way more educated in this area than I am, be the one who is leading the charge on that show, which will be a fun thing to do as well. Okay, the next one I'm pretty excited about. This one is called My Bonus Money, and I just got the domain name for this, mybonusmoney.com. I cannot believe that was available. It's crazy. So this is a show about passive income for educators. I do believe that educators are sometimes stuck in their jobs, and they sometimes make bad decisions because of that. One of the biggest challenges that I always got frustrated with as a principal is when I was hiring people, I'd find someone great who was in another district, but they would never leave because they had these basically golden handcuffs that if they left, they'd only get half the credit for their year's teaching. And so they'd go down on a pay scale. That doesn't make any sense to me. And I think teachers sometimes get stuck in places where they may not be happy, they may want something better, but it's tough to take a pay cut to go somewhere else. So I do believe that financial independence is actually possible, and there are ways to do it. There are many ways to earn passive income. I'm going to talk about all of them and interview people who are doing it and share what they've learned and how they make it happen. And there's way more than just selling on Teachers Pay Teachers or investing in the stock market, and we're going to go into so many different areas. So this is going to be really fun. I'm learning along with you, and I'll share my own personal story of how I make passive income through my activities, because I have made a good amount of money through doing this that has supported my family, and it's pretty cool that it actually works. I think I'm the most excited about this podcast because this one is going to be a lot of fun. The next one is called The Teacher's Lounge, and this will be a fun weekly live podcast featured on focused on current issues in education and hosted by all the hosts on the network, and we'll rotate through. So you get to hear from all these different people, starting with me and Ross, of course, and including other hosts who will be joining the network as well. Speaking of other hosts, we have a few in the works, and I'll announce those in the future. Let me just say now, we've got some great shows coming that will be joining us. Look forward to this show next month on the first Sunday in August to hear more about the podcast network. Finally, let me share with you again the link for the podcast network. It is bpodcast.network. You can get that in the show notes here and go check that out. This episode that I'm doing right now will be the first post on that website, so you can have some information. And when it launches, we'll have all the shows with all the ways for you to subscribe to just the shows that you want. So go to bpodcast.network and sign up, and I'm excited to have you join us on this really exciting journey. One thing that I would like to add is that if you are a company or work for a company and would like to sponsor the shows that are powerful shows that are going to reach many educators across the entire spectrum, please reach out. I'd love to talk with you as well and have some partnerships going to make sure that people are getting access to the products and services that will help them be the change they want to see in education. Thanks so much. I'm excited to share all these great things with you, and I look forward to seeing you next week on Transformative Principal. Let me give a little rundown of what is coming out this month. And this is, we got some good stuff coming this month, so I'm looking forward to this as well. Next month, before we get to this month, is going to be excerpts from each of the shows that are coming to the network, which will be pretty fun, and we're looking forward to that. So we're going to have, let's see, oh man, I forgot about that show. Gosh, we're just gonna have so much good stuff. Coming out next week is Mark Hirschberg, and I interviewed Mark about his new book, which I think you will like as well. We've got Susie Wise coming out soon, Michael Toth, Melissa Sadin, who is going to be part of the Resilient Schools podcast, Tom Herr, and then I'm going to interview some students who are doing student-driven learning, personalized learning, and they're coming out in the next little bit as well. So lots of good stuff. I'm super excited for you to be part of it and can't wait for you to join us. So we will see you next time. Thanks for listening to Transformative Principal.